Well, hello, and welcome to the Riverfront Reds Show. I am Seth Shaner, joined tonight by special guest Pokey Reese. Pokey, thanks so much for taking some time.
All right, thank you. No problem. Thanks for having me.
So good to talk to you again. You were on Red Leg Roundtable a little over, a year and a half ago, and
Yes,
I
me and
really
Pekka.
enjoyed chatting with you then, and good to see you now. How's the little guy doing? I see him on Instagram all the time.
He's doing good, man. He's doing good. He loving life. I mean, as long as he has sports, a bat, a baseball, a basketball, soccer ball, football, he's happy.
Yeah, well, hopefully the Reds can draft him here in about 15 years or so, 14 years. Um, Wanted to have you on because these Reds are currently in a playoff chase. They are
Mhm.
technically, as we record this, a half game behind the Mets. I've got the Mets Cubs up here on my screen up above me here. They are playing right now. If the Mets lose tonight, the Reds enter the last three games tied for that spot, but they have the tiebreaker. So it's a
Mhm.
don't get any like bad feelings right now, but it's a weekend in Milwaukee that could decide this.
Oh man, well, yeah, you taking me back, man. That was a good time. I mean, we didn't make it in, but we was fighting, hard our hardest, to, try to get in it to make the people of Cincinnati proud, but we didn't make it. Congrats to the Mets.
Yeah. Well, hey, the good news this year is instead of having to play that one game that you had to play back then with no sleep, they've got tiebreakers set up. The
Hmm.
Reds have the tiebreaker against the Mets. They have the tiebreaker against the Diamondbacks also, but the Diamondbacks lost again today, so that pushes them even further back. So the Reds have tiebreakers. If they end up with the same record as the Mets or Diamondbacks, Reds go in. So they don't have to worry about that flight from Milwaukee to back to Cincinnati, which you guys had to, obviously.
Yeah, they got it. I mean, that's a good thing that they changed that. I mean, the team of '99, which we had that back then, but times change, things change. So hey, good luck to them.
All right, so they salvaged a game today against the Pirates.
Hmm.
The big thing at the end of the game, one out in the ninth inning, Reds clinging to a 2-1 run lead, 2-1 lead. Noelvi Marte, did you see this play? He caught the ball over. He robbed a home run
Oh
to
wow.
preserve the 2-1 lead. That was pretty amazing.
Wow, I did not see it. I'm sure I'll see it on Sports Center, but I didn't get a chance to watch the game today.
Now Marte's a converted third baseman. Actually, he was signed by Seattle as a shortstop, moved to third
Hmm.
base. Now he's playing right field, and he's only been doing it for about 2 or 3 months. But all signs are, especially with this catch today, you won't believe it, Pokey. He skied well above the wall, and he actually caught the third out as well, and it gave them the win today. I want to ask you a little bit about kind of because this team filled with younger players. Gavin Lux won a World Series last year, played with the Dodgers, obviously. He's been around playoff situations. And Trevino, the catcher, he was with the Yankees last year, played in the World Series. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot by way of playoff experience. And I know if you rewind back to 1999, you were in a similar boat. I wanted you to tell us all a little bit about like being a young player, and
Hmm.
then B, what happens like it's really kind of hit reality this past week. It's they had 6 games to go and they were in a spot to maybe be in the playoffs. Can you take me back and a young player, and do you grip the bat a little tighter? Like what was it like for you and your teammates back then?
Yeah, no, I mean it's another game. I mean the stakes, yes, are higher, but you can't go out there thinking, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. You just have to stay within yourself and do what you were doing the whole year. I mean, just going out there having fun and laying it out on the line, until that last out. So I, if I'm them, I'm just playing my game. I'm staying within myself, trusting the guy next beside me, and just playing the game hard, and may the chips fall where they may. I mean,
Absolutely.
you just gotta stay focused, basically.
We've got a question later I was going to ask you, but I'll ask the premise of it now. They've been
Hmm.
playing in some lower scoring games. They
Hmm.
they swept the Cubs in 4 games last weekend. In the bookend of those games, they won 1-0. The Reds did. They had a tougher time scoring in this Pirates series. The Pirates have good pitching. They face Skeens in
Hmm.
game 2. That's just part of it, though, isn't it? I mean, I know the Pirates aren't going to the playoffs, but at this point, you've got to win those low-scoring games if you even want to make any moves at all in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just like '99. We were playing the Brewers. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't have a schemes, but I mean, those pitchers were big league pitchers. So, you can't take anything for granted. You got to respect your opponent. And, you just got to go out there, man, and grind it out. Like you said, 1-0 win. It doesn't matter how you win, long as you win the game.
Now, one thing also that happened this week, like the Reds are starting these games at 6:40 on weeknights, the first two games of the series. Like I live in Columbus. I'm trying to figure out a way to get down there. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it
Mhm.
down. They still drew really well. They had in the 30 plus thousand people the first two games. I know today was at 1240. I didn't see the numbers, but it made me think of that game. You guys came back and played the Mets in
Mhm.
that one game. I remember going to like a Ticketmaster location here in Columbus and buying my tickets and then driving down. That thing sold out in like 45 minutes. We were there. It was about the loudest I ever heard Riverfront Stadium. What do you remember about that night? And
Yeah, yeah,
obviously not the loss, but just the energy in the crowd.
yeah. Like you said, it was. I mean, it was. I think it was 53,000 people. It wasn't
Mhm.
an empty seat in the house. And like you said, it was the loudest I've ever heard that stadium. I mean, it was electric. You know what I mean? And they tried to pull us through, but like I said, I keep going back. We didn't, do it for the fans, but we gave it our best. Al Leiter was just a little bit. The Mets was just a little bit better that night.
I've always hated bringing, even at high school, like bringing baseball down to one game. Like
Yeah.
baseball is a game of a sport where you're playing series. Even in
Mm-hmm.
the regular season, you play a 3 or 4 game series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to make it all down to one game is so difficult. And of course, the pitching didn't quite line up either for you
Mm-hmm.
guys. But I guess you also were on that '04 Red Sox team, right? So you won the World Series. You came
Correct.
back from 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
You played for Terry Francona.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you probably heard of this thing called social media and the internet, right?
Yeah.
you, if you thought people second guessed decisions Jack McKeon made in 1999, try putting Twitter and all that stuff out there. Um, there's been a lot of questions lately about Tito's moves and decisions and things like that. Tell me a little bit about playing for Tito, and as a player, what did he mean to you as far as kind of, because I know we talked when you came on Red Leg Roundtable about your role on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was Tito like for you, and then playing for him?
I knew Tito in '94 as well. He was with the Birmingham Barons. I played against him.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, he managed the Phillies. We were playing against them then, and then I had a chance to play with him. He's a players coach. I mean, he don't have the only two rules he had for us is be on time and play hard, give 100%. So I mean, what more can you ask as a player to have a manager like that? And he backed all of his players. He stood up for the players. If something's need to be said, he had a meeting and he said it. But we played hard for Tito. Tito is one of my favorite people to managers to play for. Him and McKeon were the
Mhm.
two best managers I had. So I mean, he didn't. He just wanted us to play hard. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He just wanted us to play hard.
But did he have a way of getting you to that was maybe different than other people? Like a guy could scream and yell and you might not listen to him. But what was Tito like? How did he get you to play hard?
He didn't scream and yell. That's the thing. I mean, we are professionals. He wrote the
Yeah.
lineup out, and you saw that you were in there. He expected you to go out there and play hard for him. And I mean that's what we did. He didn't scream and yell. We had guys for that. We had Schilling, we had Veritek,
Yeah.
we had Johnny Damon, Kevin Millar. So Tito didn't have to do all that. We pretty much policed ourselves basically.
Now that you brought it up, explain the way McKeon was. How was Jack to play for?
Same thing. I mean, Jack walked around with his stogies,
Yeah.
same exact rules. He didn't say much. We had Ryan Oster, we had Greg Vaughn, we had who else? Lark didn't say much, but Vonnie and Oster pretty much, led the team. If McKeon had to say something, he'd pull you to the side. We walk around, he smoke his stogie, and he'll get at you that way. But he didn't say much. He
Yeah.
wrote the lineup out, and we played hard for him.
Uh-huh. Well, could you get on Jack at all? Like, remember when he'd get out there with the umpire and he'd like waddle back and forth? Like, could you like make fun of Jack at all, or was that kind of off limits?
Nah, I mean, I didn't do that. I mean, you had Mike Cameron, Aaron Boone, those guys had fun doing it. Man, look, I was proud to be there, happy to be there, and wanted to do my job. I mean, of course, we all had fun and joked around, but I wasn't the jokester of the team. We had other guys to do that. I'd laugh and stuff like that, but I kind of stayed away from all that stuff.
Hey, so I was telling you about Marte robbing the home run today.
Hmm.
It looked a lot like, and I believe it was Game 6 of the Pirates series in 1990 when the Reds beat the Pirates. Glenn Braggs, you remember he jumped up and caught that ball. It's
Yeah,
very similar looking. When you see it, you'll definitely agree there. Um, have you had a chance to watch Ellie De La Cruz much?
I have.
What do you think?
25 errors is a lot as a shortstop. You know what I mean? I
Listen, you
mean,
would know. You know,
yeah.
you were a great defensive player, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing you look at, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great talent, but I mean, he has. I mean, Larkin's there. Get with Larkin, and go out and take ground balls and do whatever you got to do to cut down on the errors. Because if you can't catch the ball in the infield, you'll definitely be in the outfield here pretty soon. So you see what happened to the Pirates shortstop. He's
O'Neal
now
Cruz, yes, yeah.
right. So I mean, I don't know what the Reds are gonna do. I'm sure they're not thinking about doing that, but man, I mean, if you want to be a shortstop, you have to catch the ball and make outs. You know what I mean?
Now, one thing I'll tell you is Ellie's played most of the year with an injured quad. He
Hmm.
keeps playing. He's played every game. So,
Right.
not to make excuses, but I will bring that up. But what if I told you, Pokey?
Hmm.
Let's see here if I can find it. Let's see, batting. There, fielding. All right. What if I told you that at age 24 in 1988, Barry Larkin made 29 errors?
Oh wow. Hey.
Ellie's 23.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, the guy that used to run this network, Chad Dotson, he points that
Hmm.
out all the time in his newsletter and the things he
Hmm.
writes and even on Twitter. Barry Larkin at age 24 had 29 errors at shortstop, led the league, and yet became
Wow.
a Gold Glove shortstop.
So there's time. Hey,
There's time.
there's a chance.
We got and listen, hey man, I know like you became a Gold Glove second baseman, and
Hmm.
certainly there were times maybe when you were still young that you were still trying to get with it. It's all very interesting. I think our society now, especially like this social media stuff, we want everything to come faster.
Right.
Um, but certainly Ellie, hopefully he's back from this slump. What else have you noticed about the Reds? Have you followed them at all this year?
Yeah, I've been watching them pretty closely. I mean, they're like us. Like you said, they're a young team. They look like they have a lot of fun out there. You know what I mean? They're a close knit group. I mean, pitching and defense wins championships. So
Mhm.
until like I said, we have to get Ellie to cut down on those errors.
Yes.
I mean, and the sky's the limit for those guys. I mean, I like the team. They got the pitching staff is unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Burns, Green, Lodolo, Abbott. Those guys are real good, and we didn't have
No.
that type of pitcher. You know what I mean? So they're on the right track.
Yeah, you were more of a bullpen team, and
Right.
certainly Harnish had a good year, but I know Nagel was banged up most of that year
Hmm.
in '99 specifically.
Hmm.
Um, I guess what about though? Like, and certainly when you were at the Red Sox,
Hmm.
I mean, there was more veteran guys there at that point. But what if you do get in the playoffs? If these Reds do make the playoffs, I think they're going to have to play the Dodgers. Like
Mm.
like right away. So like what advice would you have for any of those players like player to player?
Just I mean, it's a little bit different in the playoffs. I mean, the meetings are a lot more. You know what I mean? They go pitch by pitch to every
Mhm.
batter in the pitcher's meeting. You know what I mean? We didn't have the cards they have now to align each other.
Right.
We just go by like we had Dale Swain. He used to be the infield guy. I mean, he would tell us this pitch we need you here. This
Yeah.
pitch we need you here. So in the playoffs, it's pitch by pitch. They break down every batter. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I'm sure they do that in the regular season, but in the playoffs, is a whole different beast.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chase Burns, and even Nick Martinez is in the bullpen right now. I would assume a guy like Brady Singer
Hmm.
or Littell, whom they got from the Rays, I assume they would be in the bullpen. Like, the game shrinks in the playoffs, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
if a guy gives
yeah.
up 2 runs in the first inning, he's pretty
He's out
much
of
out of
there.
there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's out of there. I mean, it's all about getting outs. In the playoffs, it's all about getting outs and catching the baseball, making the plays.
What's in 1999? We discussed it before. Like it's 1999 is such a beloved year for guys my age and
Hmm.
a little younger, a little older. I guess you know when you think of that, you couldn't like recreate it. Remember, like in 2000, you and I talked about it on the show before, but like it's hard to recreate like when you have magic. Like it's like you
Hmm.
don't want it to leave that bottle, right? Like
Right.
that, you guys had to feel like even though you didn't make the playoffs, like boy, that was something special.
Yeah, that was something special. And the thing, we when we get together, me, Dimitri, or I talk to Casey, we always talk about that 99 team. And the thing we always talk about is why couldn't we run it back? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With
Hmm.
that same group, we all know it's a business, but if we could have ran it back, and then if things didn't go right at the All Star break, blow it up. But I mean,
Sure.
it's a business, and things happen, So yeah, we just wanted to run it back and see if we could recreate that magic, but things happen.
When you're there from afar, I know you're I believe in South Carolina still, right? So like you're not as maybe like I'm running this network now. It's kind of like, hey, I got to keep up with the Reds, which I would do anyway. But
Hmm.
fans day in and day out, we get frustrated sometimes if the ownership didn't pay for somebody or go get somebody or whatever.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I know as a player, it might get frustrating too. And I know like if you look back at like even I mean you were playing a lot in '98. I remember because
Hmm.
I think Larkin was hurt a little bit. You're playing some third base also.
Hmm. Hmm.
And really 99 snuck up on everybody. We didn't, they made the big trade for Vaughn, obviously, but
Hmm.
but it didn't feel like they spent the money like a big time club like the Yankees would spend.
Right.
What's that like as a player? Like if they, I mean, they made a few moves at the All Star break this year, but they certainly didn't go get like a 40 home run bat or something.
Well, as a player, you just out there doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. I never worried about what the upper management was doing. I had a job to do. I was a starting second baseman at the time, and that's all I was worried about. Me and my teammates, whatever they do up top, that's what they do. But you know, if they wanted to bring somebody in, that's on them. The ones who were there, we just had to continue to play the game and play the game the right way and try to win games.
And when you think about it, like obviously you're playing 162 games, the lineup's going to have to like evolve or move around a little bit, or guys are going to need days off.
Hmm.
Like when you took the field, let's talk about 99, like as momentum started growing, like it
Hmm.
probably didn't matter if Tucker was out there or Dimitri was out there, like which guys out there at some point. You guys like worked together really well that year, didn't you? And it just kind of probably it feels like it came together really well.
Yeah, it really did. We were real close on and off the field. Like you said, we didn't care who came in or who went out. The guy that they were putting in there was going to do the job. I mean, we had Jeffrey Tucker, Jeffrey Hammonds,
Yeah.
Michael Tucker. As you can see here,
Hey,
here's the
buddy.
little one. So yeah, so we didn't care who was putting in lineup. Whoever was out there, we were going to play hard every day.
All right, Pokey, I'm going to get you out of here in just a minute, but first I'm going to read a few questions. We have what's called viewer mail, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even before we were on video, this was called viewer mail, so it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of a funny thing. But guys and gals that watch the show or listen to the show can send in questions and comment. I'm gonna give you two of them here,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to hear this one. Scott Boldman chimes in. He said, so if you are the Brewers, are you more because the Brewers have wrapped up like they already on top seed and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Are you more concerned with resting your team or the Reds pitching staff if the Reds get in the playoffs? It occurs to me that they might want to keep the Reds out of the playoffs. Well, they wouldn't play the Reds till down the line anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts there? Like a team that's already got its fate settled
Mm-hmm.
versus do we lay down and let this team come in and play well and rest all our guys? Like, where do you think most big league teams would go in that scenario?
I mean, I think they'll let them keep playing.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose your mojo. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Some guys may take a day off and it may hurt them. So I think they're gonna come in and try to beat the Reds or whatever. I think they're not gonna rest anybody. In my opinion, I wouldn't.
Sure. Okay. One more here. Well, actually, I got one more and then one more comment. Brandon Kamick, he writes in every week. He says,
Mm-hmm.
if you could add one former Reds player from the last decade in his prime to this team to secure a playoff spot, who would it be? The only catch is it can't be Joey Votto. So I'm going to ask
Wow.
you this. Let
Mm-hmm.
me ask you a different way. He didn't know you were coming on. He didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that you would be here. If you could add one player from the 99 team to this team that would, with 3 games left, help them get in the playoffs, who do you think would be the best pitcher or player to put in this lineup?
That's a hell of a question. I think I'd have to go with the mayor.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Sean Casey. I mean, Case is he can swing that thing. I don't know who's playing first right now, but I think Case would be a big bat for this team.
Well, you got used to the DH in the National League now, so maybe
Ooh.
Case could come off the bench as the DH. And
Yeah.
oh my goodness, yeah, he had at one point that year, I think he might have hit 336 that year, but he was smoking throughout that season. You're right. If I was to follow what Brandon said, I think as of this weekend, the way it's going, I think I would get Johnny Cueto because he said the last decade. So I would put Johnny Cueto because they've already burned Hunter Green. They that's the other thing. Actually, I'll ask you this: Tito could have pitched Hunter Green on regular rest on Tuesday, which would have meant he could have pitched again Sunday. But he kept him because they had the day off Monday. He kept him on regular turn of the rotation. So he pitched Wednesday against Skeens. He lined him up against Skeens. Should have gone better. It didn't. They went 11 innings and lost. Now, technically speaking, he probably won't start Sunday if they need him, but he could come out of the bullpen. That was an interesting decision.
All hands on deck. I mean,
yeah.
Put him in the bullpen. If who's ever starting that day is struggling, now you got to use everybody.
All right, Pokey, I'm going to let you go here in a second, be with your family, but we got a guy named Rex Scott. Now, the Reds at a certain point only 2 weeks ago they were down 7 games to the Mets. And as of this past Sunday, they tied them, and now here they are. If the Mets could lose tonight, the Reds are tied again with that tiebreaker. Rex Scott's this guy. He was positive the whole way. He's like, we can still do this. We can still do this. He says, I don't have a question tonight, but I want to hear you and your special guest, that's you, Pokey, say never surrender. Say it with force, pride, and conviction. This guy was positive the whole way, Pokey. Never surrender. I'll buy that, right?
Right. Yeah, you can't never give up. I mean, that's why they play the game. You got to continue to the 162. Never give up.
That's right. That's right. So, Pokey Reese, thanks so much for joining me. I love hearing from you and getting that perspective because, we talk about the game from a fan's perspective. I love getting a player's perspective like you have. So, thanks so much.
No problem.
All right, Pokey, we'll talk again sometime soon. Say hi to your family. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll be right back after this.
All right, thanks for having me.
Back here on the Riverfront Reds Show. Thanks so much to Pokey Reese for stopping by. I will go through the rest of your viewer mail questions, and certainly I'll turn my eye toward this Mets-Cubs game, which as I record, the Mets have a 2-0 lead in the third inning. Hopefully the Cubs, that feels gross, but hopefully they can come back in this one. All right, Kyle Kapler, you chimed in and you said, is it obvious that this front office was shooting for 500 the whole time and they fell into contention? That meme of that kid pointing at himself comes to mind, holding a beer. And he actually shared the meme. That's a common refrain. I think it makes business sense, I suppose. And a lot of folks will talk about it. If you are around 500, the business sense probably says that you're sitting there with the amount of ticket sales and TV revenue and all that sort of thing that just gets you probably making some money. I suppose that's possible. I guess that's giving them a lot of credit for having business sense, though. And so I wonder if, especially after what happened in 2020, I just wonder if they got afraid and they're just so afraid to push their chips in and they just won't do it. So I guess I would probably lean that way. But, the theory that, hey, and Chad said that us all the time, if you could sneak on in, then maybe you have a chance. That might be true. But then 2023 happens and 2025 happens and they didn't make it in 23. They might not make it here in 25. So now as the Mets hit a home run. So this is not looking good. All right, Nathan Connor, he says, listen, I'm grateful the Reds are in high-stakes games this week, but let's not forget that MLB has watered down playoff pool to 12 teams, so mediocre teams can be interesting longer. This is not 1974, 1962, or 1999, the teams we were just talking about with Pokey. He said those are teams with more than 95 wins that didn't make the postseason. 2025 was not a great team, but it was captivating in its own way. Nick Kroll had 1,000 monkeys working at 1,000 typewriters, working to create the greatest average team known to man. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times. Nathan, I think you have a good point, obviously. I think, like, if you could go backwards even to before the wild card, when it was even NL East and NL West. I mean, remember, like, I think the Giants won 103 games in 1993, and they didn't make the playoffs because the Braves won 104. And it's like, well, listen, there's times back then, and I bet you if you were in 1987, 88, and 1986, 87, 88, when Pete had the guys finishing second every year with that young group, you probably got sick of the continuing to only finish second. But at some level, it probably felt progress was being made, right? But I don't know. I mean, if you didn't have this opportunity to go to the playoffs, this year would have been pretty frustrating even a couple weeks ago, obviously. And they do have a chance here, so it does create excitement. But you also have to remember, under this playoff era, the way we have it, even before it was 12 teams, the Cardinals got in at 83 wins and won a World Series. The Diamondbacks 2 years ago were behind the Reds much of September and made it to the World Series. So if you're going to give me an invitation to the ball, I'd like to get in there and try. You know what I mean? And see what happens. So that's where I am with it. And yes, it certainly has not been perfect. It's been rather frustrating many times this year. But here we are. And you're right. It's meaningful baseball the last week of the year. James Urban says, why does it have to be the Brewers? They are going to crush our dreams, aren't they? I hope not. I hope that the Reds can overcome whatever issue they've had with the Brewers these last several years. But we'll just have to see what happens with that. And obviously, we got to keep an eye on these Mets, because if the Mets keep a game ahead of the Reds, then it's not quite as much what the Brewers do the Reds as it is, did you just run out of time? We will see. Mike Perry, your question was one I talked a little bit with Pokey. Why do we hit so poorly in must-win games against bad teams? And, of course, you posted this before the Reds were done, and you said you were hoping that it ages poorly. Well, it didn't age poorly because they still only scored the 2 runs. I will say, though, like, when you play against Paul Skeens, when you play in some of these situations, you're going to have times when you can win those low-scoring games. They beat the Cubs 4 straight last weekend. By 2 of those games were 1-0 decisions. I think that's huge, and I think it's a big deal. So I guess if nothing else, if they do sneak on in, they'll be ready, right? They'll be ready for these tightly contested games where hopefully they can scratch out 2 runs when they need a 2-1 victory. I mean, I'd rather score 10 every game, right? That's true, but it's been okay. Skylar Webker, the host of Late Night Reds, says, who is the most important free agent for this team, and why is it Miguel Andujar? The dude just hits. Rain, shine, home, away, it doesn't matter. Just a hitter. I'm with Skylar on that because if we could get him healthy for a full year, I think he answers a lot of questions that these Reds had this year, right? If he was healthy the entire time since they got him, because he started out there on fire and he seemed to get a little banged up. I guess my criticism would be if you bank on him and you don't go out and try to sign somebody else that gives you a power bat or something like that, which we've seen, right? So that's where I'd be on that one. We got Scott and Brandon's already. Sid Price, you had one earlier where you were excitingly motivating. You said anything is possible. I have hope. Well, they won the game today. That was before they played. Later, you said for the rest of the season, who do you think steps up and sends us back to the postseason? If I had to put, I'm not going to say if I had to put money because I don't want to condone gambling at all. We don't need that. But if I had to say who I thought right now, after what he did with the inside the park home run last night, and after what he did today with that catch, I think Noelvi Marte is ready. He is ready. He showed, I bet you that catch gives him so much confidence, and he will be ready to go on into getting the Reds to the postseason and into the postseason as well. All right, Rex, never surrender. Never surrender. That's where we are. The Reds cannot surrender. They have to keep fighting. They'll be up there in Milwaukee this weekend for the last 3 games of the year, and the Cincinnati Reds have a chance to make the playoffs. Let's hope next weekend, actually, like at the end of this weekend, let's hope Late Night Reds is flush with excitement for a playoff preview, and then we can talk about it a little bit next week on the Riverfront Reds Show. Thanks so much to everybody who chimed in the viewer mail. Thanks to Pokey Reese for stepping up and coming on with me today. That was an awesome treat to have Pokey on here. Follow us on all the socials at Riverfront Cincy. You can still become a Patreon member, patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy. Hit us up on Twitter. Ask any questions you'd like. If you want to ask any questions on social media, I'd be happy to answer it in a viewer mail here or there to give you a taste of what it's like to be part of that. If you do join the Patreon, though, we can get you into the Slack channel. We can make sure you can get into that discussion with all the other Reds fans. We talk Bengals also. We talk a lot of Cincinnati area stuff, but we also talk movies and random things. Joey Gaditza from Canada, he is big in his fantasy football right now, so he'll have a lot of questions for you in the random folder. So feel free, jump on in the Patreon group. We'd love to have you. So thanks again for everybody tuning in again. Another week of this, the Red Lake, the Riverfront Reds Show. Sorry. And we hope to have many more weeks of Reds content before we go off into that hot stove season. So long, everybody.